So I'm driving for plus, and I have nothing better to do. Be at least somewhat. Who am I fucking kidding? I don't know if this thing is gonna work. I thought I entered the area where the connection is better because I know it's been. I had this trip for a few times already, and outside of the forest, it's like pretty good the connection. But anyway, I did not forget about the channel. I'm in Florida right now, Central Florida. It's quite interesting here. It's actually first time raining here that I see like a really whole day rain. But anyway, the whole trip is a disaster. It's a fucking extreme levels of stress and bullshit I have to deal with on a daily basis. It will make me a better person, I think. I hope. Hopefully better as something that I can give to others. Anyway, I wanted to do a quick update. The recent interesting thing that came onto my lap, my coworker Steve, hey Steve, if you watching this, don't tell others what I do. He recommended me a book, Ego is the Enemy by Ryan Holiday. And holy shit, there's this quote in this book. When the student is ready, the teacher appears, or the teacher will appear. No fucking shit. I've been dealing with my egotism my whole life. I've been a total piece of shit, like bigger piece of shit, when I was younger, my whole life, and I kind of knew about it, and I tried to address it, but never had a system or anything. And when I started recently doing like martial arts and whatever the fuck, with some people that we hang out with, it's one of the topics, the ego, that we discuss, and you quickly realize that people kind of have the same exact issue with the ego and same exact thoughts. And it's really funny because you would have someone who's like aware of the ego issue, but they will be like completely driven by their ego, and it was funny. Anyway, this book brings a structured approach to fighting your ego. It's incredibly liberating. You feel almost weightless. Well, I felt almost weightless after I listened to it on Audible. So the book is structured like this. It has three pieces, three parts: aspiring, success, and failure. And these are basically three unremovable parts of your life, no matter what you do, professional life, sports, whatever the fuck. And Other gives a really good framework how to minimize the impact, the negative impact of the ego on the things that you want to do. So just help you to be more successful. Of course, you're not going to completely destroy your ego by it. And the fact even that you're aware of how to fight ego might inflate your ego and make you more of a maniac. But if you know how to use it, it's insane. And one of the things that really is useful personally for me is first stop telling yourself a story. Like, I realized I'm telling myself a story that something happened, or like describing myself to someone, or imagining the future. And it's all a story, and I'm just telling a story. And when you read a story, it's like it's affecting you emotionally. That's how humans are. This is why a lot of books that try to teach you something, like, for example, The Talent Code or Atomic Habit, they always have this like preamble of like, this guy was, you just give me what I need to do. Like, why are you doing this shit with story? But I guess it works. So that's like what humans are. We're really good at telling stories and listening to stories. That's like, I don't know how we learn or whatever. But with the ego, it will affect you. And if you keep telling yourself the same story, you're just overriding your brain. You're just writing data, telling yourself the same story again. And now that's that was really connected with me. And the second one is being versus doing. Everybody who has problems with ego, me included, always are motivated by becoming something, so later they can be. And you will like tell yourself a story like, oh, I want to be grandmaster in fucking shooting, and you're like so motivated by this shit. But being has no like good side effect. Being is just like, oh, I achieved that, and now my ego is huge, and I can be like an asshole to everybody else. I made it. Like, you never fucking made it. It's not about making it. It's about doing it. So what really makes you a good shooter? When you shoot, when you train, when you practice all the time. Doing. Having this G on your card or whatever the fuck, or winning even a sectional, a national, a world, it's just a story. If you did something, it just happened. You're not doing, you're not actively improving. So these two things together are like really powerful, and they connect. Like, the funny thing about it, the guy is just talking about the ego and how it's bad for you, and how you need to fight it in order to become more successful. And for me, he actually touched on a lot of principles of deep practice and how we learn without even trying to talk about this thing. So, doing versus being. There's a thing called trust the process. It's not just about trusting the process. It's about doing the process too. Doing everyday work and just keep doing it. And a lot of people who I saw quit shooting, for example, they were not, they were doing a lot, right? They were like at certain levels.
Turn left onto Florida.
Blah, 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 blah. Okay, so they've been doing the work, right? But they were motivated by, what am I? What can I be? And I had a friend, Dustin, who fucking quit after he made master, and he went to nationals, and he scored. He was actually pretty good. He was like 75% or something. Like, for nationals, where scoring 10% below your classification bracket is actually like a good solid score. For him, it was an extreme disappointment, and I think he went to like a few matches after that, and he just quit.
At the light,
why the fuck did he quit? He was progressing. He was a great shooter. He quit because in his mind, he failed to match his expectations of himself against being. I'm a carry optics master. I need to be 85%, blah, blah, blah. Like, fuck no. You're not going to win nationals. You're not going to score good just the first time you shoot it as master. It's not going to happen. And you become discouraged, and your dopamine levels go whoop, and you're now not motivated to train more. So you did damage to your training. And if instead you would be just focused on the process, on doing, you would be like, who fucking cares about the score? I went to nationals. They were awesome stages. Like, I saw a new plan or a new way to plan, or even if you didn't see anything, truly trusting the process of how we learn is a completely blind exercise in just
continue on
shooting.
Florida 40 west for 9 miles.
When I do like live fire, oftentimes I don't take the fucking target. I don't give a fuck. I don't even time myself. I don't use a timer in dry fire unless I need to unless I feel that I'm slow and I'm being lazy, I need to push myself. And even then, I will push myself with a metronome and not a timer. For timer, I will verify that I'm in the bracket, that I'm properly timing with a metronome. If there are some long running activities, like for example, if the stage I'm doing it has like a draw, a few steps, and I want to make sure that I don't waste time by like leaving, entering positions, things like that. Because timing something with a metronome for splits and transitions is easy. For longer activities, you basically need to schedule it ahead of time to like that a draw is a 4 split or things like that. That was actually the whole idea that went to Heat Factor 15. When you actually have a full kind of stage thing running. Anyway, you don't need to measure shit. You just need to keep doing and keep seeing rarely something crazy you attempted that should have not worked, and it somehow worked, and you're like, holy fuck, yes! That's a positive prediction error. Incredibly powerful tool to create more motivation for training in the future, but also to save this one circuit that just fired as, yes, this was good, fucking keep doing it. Mostly you will be dealing with negative prediction error, isn't like, I'm doing Blake drill and I have fucking Charlies, and every Charlie bothers me. And that's negative prediction error that says, okay, we fucked this up. And again, you don't even need to analyze it. You don't need to do much. You don't need to post on fucking Instagram and tell everybody how cool you are. Just keep fucking doing the Blake drill and observing the dot. And look at the spot where the dot needs to go and make sure it's there around the time when the trigger is pulled. So in live fire, it would have resulted in an actual connection. And that's it. You don't measure shit. You don't track your progress. You just keep working. And that's what really will make you good. And it will change your mindset, I guess. But it doesn't fucking matter. Nothing fucking matters. Doing the work is what matters. Everything else is bullshit. Talking about bullshit, I don't know why. I've done a few reloads today before getting on this drive. Just like I will always dry fire when I put the gun on and go. And for some reason I paid attention to how exactly I reloaded. And I remember when I was taking my very first concealed carry class, because it was a requirement to get the license. The instructor, who was like ex-cop in California, so his level is shit, he was like 100% sure that every time you reload, you need to keep looking at your target, because fucking threat and shit, and you need to like just do by muscle memory and whatnot. So I thought I would add this to the video because I have nothing better to do, is like talk about what all these different techniques and these little things that people in gun community, including sometimes in the competition shooting community, like to discuss and like to really argue about, and everybody's like so invested in this and like, no, my method is this, your method is that. So from deep practice point of view, from how we learn all that shit, from that bullshit that I'm trying to put it out in the world, or not even put it out because it's not mine. I'm just repeating what I read and applying it to my situation. From this point of view, what is the better method, right? And there are two answers to that. First one is fuck if I know, and the second one is it doesn't matter. Now, why fuck if I know? Well, because first, it might work both ways, and you can like stay and fucking measure everything, but it's not going to be scientific, because if you trained one method more than another, it's going to be more successful. And it doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, if you're trying to work at really high speed, like let's say you want to win a nationals, or you want to have a record on a classifier, all movements, all shooting within certain distance, which is like covers most of our distances in USPSA and similar sports, everything needs to be predictive. And by predictive, I mean you look at the spot on the target, on the next target, you transition to it, and you start pulling the trigger before the dot arrives. Maybe the dot actually arrived on the target, but you didn't see it yet. And by seeing it, I mean maybe your retinas are already having the light from the dot being absorbed and created an electrical signal in your nerves, but that shit is not processed yet, because processing is slow. Understanding what you're seeing is fucking slow. And it's actually the thing that everybody says, oh, you need to focus on vision. Oh, like crazy thing that Tony said is, I just put my eyes from one point to another to do dry fire, and I started calling it eye fire. And it's not about how fast you can move your eyes, because eyes move fucking fast enough. And it's definitely not about training your retinas or whatever the fuck you might imagine has some delay elements to it. No, it's actually processing what are you seeing and understanding this. In an OODA loop, that might be considered orientation. If you really like your terms, how many times do I need to say biomechanics here? But anyway, really processing the target is hard, especially if you're pushing speed and you just saw your left room, like left side of your room, and now everything changed. And you trying to find in all this chaos of visual information, you're trying to find a USPSA target, and within it, you're trying to find the alpha and pick a spot where you want your eyes to be parked, all while your body is moving. Like, think about it. Your eyes look at the target. And if you are correctly processed everything, like let's say we have a 90-degree transition. Let's look at the first target, orient ourselves properly, not OODA loop orient, like aim at the target actually, press the trigger, and just pause there for a second. Now, let's find next target, let's say 90 degrees, super hard. Well, with the eyes, it's gonna be hard. Let's say 45 degrees, it's enough to make a point here. Let's find that next target with just our eyes and focus on a specific spot where the dot needs to be. And again, just pause, like actually pause for a few seconds. Now, the world is gonna be at first kind of like blurry when you just move your eyes, and then you will understand everything, and then kinda you will get a tunnel vision and you will only see your target. Now execute the transition at maximum speed that you can do. It's just gonna be easy. It's gonna be easy as fuck. Now do the same back to the same target that you started on. Again, with huge pauses. Easy. Cool. Now keep the same transition speed, but start doing it back and forth for one shot. It's gonna be incredibly hard. Do it for 2 shots. It's gonna be much easier. Do it for 3 shots. It's gonna be fucking easy. You will be like, oh my God, I'm pulling the trigger. It takes so much time. If you don't go into desync, you will realize that you will get much higher heat factor, even if you like can transition. If you get like a lucky spray and pray transition that's equals to a split, you still will have higher heat factors on multiple shots per target. Or even if you like slow down your splits, if you do like some synthetic stuff. Because just orienting yourself to a new target is gonna be hard. Just seeing where you need to look, parse the target, get the spot, all this processing in the head. And it becomes easier because we learn by recognizing the pattern and kind of creating a footprint of that pattern that goes deeper and deeper and deeper. And that footprint is literally how USPSA target looks like. Like when I was training a lot and having like twice a week, 3 times a week live fire and daily dry fire, multiple times a day dry fire, I would drive at night, and in the dark spots around the road, I will see fucking targets. Not like I'm schizophrenic or anything, but just visual recognition was so tightly conditioned to only recognize these things. It's what I've been doing this whole time. So that's to the point of visual processing. And why I was talking about all this bullshit is because how we learn. So, in predictive shooting. So predictive shooting is, you look at the thing, you arrive on it, and when everything is there, you already need to be breaking the shot, which means you're actually shooting way sooner. So you're not consciously reacting to, oh, I'm on target, I can shoot now. No, you need to be fast. So the same thing goes even for something that doesn't necessarily require a vision as a reload. However, training with vision while keeping everything else the same will help a lot. So when you're training reloads...
Half a mile, turn right onto Florida 326 West.
You guys are gonna stalk me, aren't you? When you're training reloads, it's absolutely okay to look through your magwell and like fix problems that you have by looking and understanding, oh, I'm constantly doing it to the left or I'm constantly doing it to the right. But when you're looking, you don't need to be...
Florida 326 West.
When you're teaching yourself using that visual information, you don't need to focus on a specific spot on a magwell. You know how some people add like a little dot? That actually might help just to,
on Florida 326 West for
again,
11 miles.
Make that visual information parsing faster, because if you look at the magwell and your gun is black and the hole is black, everything is black, it's hard to parse. More contrast, less elements, easier to parse. So it actually will help. But You don't need to be thinking, I need to focus on my vision, I need to see this, I need to see that. You don't need to see shit. You need to feel how it feels when the reload is perfect. A retarded example here, it's like, not retarded, it's surprising, is Magwell guns will actually make your reloads better because they will force your hand to go from imperfect placement to more perfect placement. And then when you go remove a Magwell after a certain amount of practice, you already are preconditioned because you were just guided into that thing. So, reloading one way or another, looking there or here, doesn't matter. Except when you're training, when you're just teaching yourself, when you're slowing down to debug something, and then you're speeding up again. Oh, fuck, squirrel. And when you're speeding up again to to see if whatever you debugged and fixed actually works, and to create that muscle memory that that is already optimized. So basically, at speed, your muscle memory amounts of things that you're doing are going to be decreased no matter what. And it's actually hard to slow down at first and do exactly the same thing. This is why you need to do everything gradually. You need to start at your normal speed and slow down to dig. It's like a principle of deep practice when you're reaching, but doing it slower in order to see more, to perceive more, not see, feel, perceive, smell, doesn't matter. More information per element of movement. So it's going to be same amount of information per second, but because you're going much slower, for the element of movement or step or part of the algorithm sequence, whatever, it's going to be more. And the time doesn't really matter for the sequence, because sequence is just how the neural circuitry is working. The speed is, it comes external to the skill. It's a synchronization signal that just goes, we go like this, or we go like that. But the circuit is the same. If your circuit is optimal enough, it will go, no problem. But at certain point, it's not possible to go as fast because it's not myelinated enough, it's not optimal enough. Desynchronization starts to happen when you're pushing yourself too hard. This is why reach works. You find errors by that. But if you go too far, this sync is going to be so bad that everything just falls apart completely. If you just start increasing amount of errors and you could correct them, that's the perfect learning speed for reaching. Now the opposite to that is when you slow down after you have a reliable error at the speed that you think you should be able now to have confidently execute the skill, and you try to execute exactly the same sequence with the error at super slow speed. That highlights the error and that allows you to do a correction. You bake the correction back into the sequence, and then you start executing sequence again at proper speed, at faster speed, and see if that helped you. Helps insanely good, especially with some synthetic things like manipulations, because everything is the same, except you need to watch your fatigue levels. If you're cramping, now your sequence is going to change because the physical properties of your muscles change. So you need to really not go full fanatic on that. So you can look, you can not look when you're learning for this shit, whatever. If we're talking about threat, I don't want to talk about that, it's bullshit, but I mean, you're reloading here, the threat is there. It's like, I'm looking at you. I can still see, I have peripheral vision. It's not even peripheral, it's pretty much around the center, so it doesn't matter. I don't remember how I reload in stages. So that's another thing. I recommended the book. I talked about the bullshit with reloads, and it took me 25 minutes, yay! 38 minutes remaining. It looks like I have good 5G connection. I wonder if YouTube actually records a video on the phone locally and then uploads it later when I have better connection. Do I have comments? Nobody fucking cares about me. Top chat, live chat, chat viewing options, live chat, pinned chat. Nobody fucking cares. What else can I talk about while I'm driving? I'm still working on the book. I've just been distracted with bullshit, but I need to fix myself. I hopefully see an end of the tunnel for this bullshit that I'm dealing with. I should be able to start outputting more, and I will try to have a regular content for YouTube, at least for something. Oh, another thing. So a few people talk to me about online, like doing classes. So with this whole book thing and deep practice approach, I guess it's okay to tell you how I feel about classes. So most classes that I see out there, they are created by the instructors to make money and to satisfy their ego, create that being state of them having X amount of students, their students did this and that, blah, blah, blah. A lot of results of the classes that I hear from people who take classes is like, oh, I went to that class, blah, blah, blah. I paid $700 for the class, and total cost was like $1,500 because I stayed in the hotel and I paid for the ammo, and it was like 2-day class, and I learned these 2-3 things. Okay, and I'm gonna take it next year. I'm like, why do I need to take it next year? So class here definitely succeeds if something like this takes place all the time, because it keeps making money for the instructor and people are getting something, so they're happy. I think it's trash. I think it's better to write a book, to spend like fucking 5 years writing a book and give people something that they can use to train and practice, because whatever you do in classes, it's nothing compared to amount of time that you actually should be practicing. Yes, some things can be corrected, little micro learning, micro coaching, all that shit. It will speed up things. It will give you shortcuts, but this is minor. It's not important. What class really should give instead, I think, is it should teach you how to practice, but most importantly, how to coach yourself. The class should coach you to be a better coach for yourself, because unless you're really rich and you're like, I mean, I actually know people. We all know a couple people like that who have like a dedicated coach who's with them everywhere on every practice session. Good results, but I can't afford that. So you're not going to have a coach with you all the time, but you will have yourself with you all the time. So you need to be your coach. How to get there? That is a much more important and I think probably harder thing to teach, because a lot of people who go to classes, they're like in the middle of the road, like AB class, and so you can like pretty atomically separate people who go to classes and people who teach classes, at least in competitive shooting community. Like in tactical and law enforcement, whatever the fuck, trash people, trash shooters. These guys might go to classes and teach classes, but in our environment, it's like the top guys are teaching classes and everybody else is going to classes, which is kind of surprising, right? It's like, he didn't take any classes, why is he so good? Can I be good if I take classes? Is this the right way to do it? I think not. I think you need to be really digging and thinking about any possible way to practice, and even more, any possible way to increase your amount of practice. Like, you need more practice, but like fucking hands are tired, man. Like, I have inflammation, I have tendonitis, I have shooter's elbow. What am I gonna do? Maybe I can do iFire. Is iFire bullshit? No, I think it's working. What the fuck? It's working. Oh my god, I found a way to practice. Yay! When like everything is broken. So yeah, you need to just find ways to practice more, and it's not something that the coach or an instructor will just tell you. So for people who are interested in taking classes from me, until book is out, no. After, it's gonna be like, okay, here's the book, read it, and then we will see what we can do for micro coaching, for some things that like a grip, like practical movement, little optimizations, running a thing. Oh yeah, I have a comment. How strongly do you recommend trapping the garment with your hand while doing AAWB reloads? I mean, you have to trap it or it will fall down. I don't have garments that are so light or tight that will go up against the body and stay there. So what I do is I reach for the garment with a support hand while this hand is ejecting the mag. I put it up and then I tuck the elbow in. And it's for AWB reloads, I always do this. It takes time. No matter how long I competed and tried to progress for classifiers, because I was focused on classifiers so hard, like hardcore. If they have reloads, I knew I will not be able to have a good run on the classifier, or at least not to the best of my ability, just because that time that you need to put the garment up and tuck and get a reload like this and then get it out, it's going to be more time than actually just going for normal reload. It just goes like this. Like, there's no way. So reloads from concealment are always going to be slow. You have to trap if you want a consistent, safe, without like snagging, any manipulation from concealment, any manipulation from the garment. Same with the draw. You don't remove the garment hand during the draw until the gun is out of the holster and away from the garment. And still, what we were talking about before, the desync might happen and you can snag your garment. It depends what kind of garment. So this is why I like grabbing at the gun and putting the garment really up, because that will work with different t-shirts. It will work with different hoodies if they're like bigger or smaller. Any tips on returning the dot to the spot on the second shot of doubles? So I don't believe in doubles. I believe in continuous string of fire. You need to be continuously keeping the shooting platform in its static engaged configuration. So everything is engaged and static. You're not doing anything active. I actually just discussed this with Chance, my friend who's a martial artist. He's like very young, 21 now, I think. Maybe 22. Nah, I think he's still 21. Maybe 22. Anyway, he's really talented in terms of learning physical skills. And he's growing super fast as a shooter. So, one of the things that we were discussing about recoil is, do you actively put it down? And again, fuck if I know, but it's totally possible that after enough practice, you have some processing that's happening not high in the brain, but it's like happening close to the hardware. Because if you actually touch a hot stove, the impulse that jerks your hand, it happens way before you can perceive pain. So the actual pain signal, it goes, so we have three types of neurons, nerve cells. Yeah. Sensatory, processing, or like middleware, and I think they're considered motor neurons, or like the ones that actually go to something. I think it's like three kinds. But basically, one gives you information from the body, one connects together both, and the last one actually executes the thing. So there is some processing with these middleware neurons that take place in like spine, or really in a high spine, but it's still like super close to all your hardware. So when you jerk the hand out of the pain, it happens faster than you can process it consciously. So it's possible that after enough conditioning, your recoil control actually has, in terms of physical properties, more muscle activation to hold the gun more where it is, but it's not something that you can consciously react to. However, when people are training, when they have like no experience yet and they're just starting to shoot, and they're like, okay, hold the gun strong, they give them grip, blah, 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 and then go bang, and the dot recovers higher. And they're like, okay, put it back. Then bang, dot recovers higher, put it back. You start doing this thing, and the recovery takes less and less and less and less time. And at the end, it might just feel like vibration around the space. When I shoot at my level right now, I just see the dot at maximum speed that I can pull the trigger. I see the dot as a line. And if I don't have enough weak hand pressure, the line would be like a circle, and I don't like it. So I will correct the line from the circle by applying more weak hand grip pressure, and it will become an oval. And ideally, I want it to become a vertical line. So I continuously keep looking at the dot and whatever my eyes are giving me. And it's especially easy to see if you're shooting like in an indoor range, because they're usually darker. So the dot will be really bright, and the line effect will be much more noticeable. And this is why I like bigger dots, because they connect the dot better to a line and allows you to track it better. And this is why I really hate vortex dots, or at least the one that I had, because it will actually flicker. It doesn't have a continuous thing, it flickers. So if you shake the dot and you still look at it, you will see multiple dots like just hanging around and like moving a little bit. Instead, I want to see the line, because the line says, here's the approximate location where are we pointed at. When it's like multiple dots, it's kind of the same, but now you have more processing. Now it's not like one continuous thing that you easy
In
to understand.
600 feet, turn right onto the I-75 North ramp.
It's like, whatever the fuck. So more elements that you see that are independent from each other, the harder it is to process it, especially like subconsciously. So main tip for returning the dot is have a really strong grip and a really strong stance in your upper body, and just
Turn right
have
onto the I-75 North
everything. So you need to optimize your grip, and by grip I mean the whole shooting platform. You need to optimize for two things: stiffness and control. Because stiffness itself is not enough.
Mile, merge onto I-75 North.
If you're holding at absolute maximum strength of your ability, you will start shaking, so you're losing control. So you need something that will give you ability to still control it, but it needs to be super stiff. Think about how semi-automatics work. Explosion happens, recoil happens. This is what pushes your slide back. And there's a spring that returns the thing back. So it goes one way, then another way. One spring. What is limp wristing?
Continue on I-75
Is
North,
when
26
the
miles.
gun is not adequately supported by your hands, and